Hello, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today for another session of Family Office Insights. We're super grateful to have Andy Bernard with us today of Left Lane Real Estate Opportunity. So thanks for joining in. We can't hear or see you. We know you're there, so uh, please feel free to ask any questions as they come to mind. We'll put them in the chat. Excuse me, put them in the chat or the Q&A, and then we'll get to as many as possible. If after hearing what you hear today, you're interested, we'll make sure we get you in touch directly with Andy. And then if there are others that you know that might find this interesting, you're more than uh, we're really happy to have you share it with them. You don't have to call Family Office Insights. We'll make sure you can connect directly with Andy. So big shout out to Kenny, who referred Andy to us, who's a good friend in New York City for a long time and a fellow Greek. So thank you, Kenny, for sharing Left Lane with us. So with that, hey Andy, would you just give us a little background here and some context?
Sure. Thanks, Arthur, and thanks everybody for joining. My name is Andy Bernard. I am partner and chief investment officer for Left Lane. What I usually do is describe our company and my background a little bit, and then get into the fund that we are raising money for today. So, my background is that I started after business school. I went to Penn for business school, came out at Morgan Stanley, and I spent almost 10 years there, primarily in the CMBS business. And the time that I was at Morgan Stanley was 2007 to 2016. So through the financial crisis, which was a very interesting time to be in commercial mortgage-backed securities and distressed loan trading. I was hired by Steve Witkoff out of Morgan Stanley to help him acquire distressed assets and take them over. We did a
Wow,
number of
that's got to be a little interesting conversation to have at some point,
Uh,
right?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It was a great experience, and I got exposed to hotel investing through Steve, and I really took to it. So sought to focus on that, and ended up running development for Equinox Hotels. Equinox being the extension of the luxury fitness chain, uh, and so we built a management company, launched the hotel brand, and opened the first hotel here in New York. Had a number of projects going around the world when I left to start this business with three friends from Colgate University, where we all went to undergrad.
I've been to
So
that
that's,
Equinox.
have
Yeah,
you? What'd you
yeah,
think?
it's awesome. I mean, that whole neighborhood is awesome. Aside from it's odd to have a mall in New York City, uh,
Agree.
but and the guy that built the vessel, the architect,
Yeah.
I met and spent some time with, super cool guy.
Mm.
Yeah, but that's a great spot down there.
Well, thanks. We were proud of it. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
So, what is Left Lane? Left Lane is a vertically integrated real estate developer, fund manager, and hotel brand creator. So, we're a 22-person organization headquartered in New York City. And the three teams at Left Lane are the investment team, which, as I said, I head up, the development team, which you should think of as a collection of architects, construction managers, designers, and FF&E experts. FF&E meaning furniture, fixture, and equipment, it's a hotel term. And then operations. And the operations team is really about hotel operations, restaurants, bars, marketing, and IT. That team also forms one half of a joint venture with a company called Highgate Hotels. Highgate is a very large hotel management company. I think they're actually the largest manager of third-party hotels in the US. We formed a joint venture with Highgate called Left Lane Hospitality. And the idea was very simple. We, Left Lane, wanted to control all of the customer-facing elements of a high-end hotel experience, including revenue management, revenue strategy, but we wanted the benefit of a very large management company's scale without starting one of our own. So Highgate provides back office systems, accounting, access to labor. The simplest way to think about it is they can buy things a lot cheaper than we can.
Yeah.
So that's the company. And because I realized I didn't say it, the real estate products that we develop are independent luxury hotel under our two hotel brands that we've created and best in market residential. And that can mean either multifamily rental or high end for sale condominium.
And the brands that you have created, it's would by definition mean you're not putting anybody's flag on your hotel.
It's our own.
Yeah.
Correct.
And would we recognize them?
Well, if you've been to Savannah, Georgia, you would. Hotel Bardo in Savannah is the best performing hotel in that market. We launched 2 years ago. And if you and I had met at a cocktail party, Arthur, and you asked me what I did or what my firm did, I would simply say Left Lane delivers the best asset in whatever submarket we go into. And that is what we've achieved with Bardo. And if you look at our track record, that's what we've done going all the way back to 2002, is we're using my partner John Culley's track record as a real estate investor here in New York, Nashville, Savannah, and Brooklyn.
Right. And there's a bunch of things that you've got in the works, and I'm sure we're going to get into that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the company and that's the strategy. How we deliver rate leading, market leading assets simply depends on where we are in the real estate market cycle. So by example, if we had started Left Lane in 2010, we would have been doing ground up construction from 2010 to 2016 when the deals made sense. From 2016 to the present, they really don't. If you're looking to earn an opportunistic return,
It's like replacement cost is a problem, right?
yeah, the cost of concrete, steel, and glass has escalated so rapidly for such a long period of time that ground up construction deals in high end hotel and high end resi just cannot earn you an opportunistic return in most 98% of the markets.
Yeah.
So today, and what we'll talk about, what we're raising money around, we needed to figure out a way to deliver our two product types at a cost basis that would allow us enough protection on the downside and upside to earn 2.5 to 3 times our money at the deal level. And the way that we've identified to do it was to target high growth cities in the US that don't have enough of our two product types, given the demand that we see, and identifying distressed historic office buildings that are really well located that we could buy very cheaply, and because of the building size and shape, renovate very cheaply into the best hotel and multifamily product in that market.
And are 90% of those not the ones that could be bought don't fit into that construct because
Absolutely
they're
right.
all chopped up, right?
Well, the simple way to think about it, if you see these posters or prints on the wall behind me, it's a rectangle, right?
Yeah.
A typical or modern office floor plate is going to be around a 40,000 square foot rectangle. And that is simply too large to convert to hotel or multifamily because you would have to cut out the center of the building, Arthur.
Yeah.
So that you could have units facing out and then a corridor and then units facing in. If you didn't do that, you would have bowling alleys, right? Which
Yeah.
are not only way too long and deep, no one would want to live in them.
Yeah.
And it's also illegal. So to remove the center of the building is extremely expensive. It's very risky. And you're creating compromised units on the interior because they're facing an interior courtyard.
Yeah.
Now, there are a number of reasons why historic buildings work really well for this strategy. The first is that because of when they were constructed, which was before the advent of central air conditioning, they had to be shaped in ways that allowed for good natural light and air quality, meaning the windows had to provide the light and air to the entire interior of the building.
I wouldn't have thought of that, but it totally makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to see it from these images, but this building looks like a three-dimensional rectangle. It's actually not. It's a C. It's the shape of a C. So in the center behind this, you have open space.
Yeah.
This building is a square, but the floor plates are small enough that you have an elevator core in the center, and we have rooms all the way around.
Yeah.
This is a V, like the Flatiron Building here in New York.
Yeah.
So you've got corridor along each wing of the V and in the center, and rooms on either side. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So there's no like second tier rooms. They're all have light and livable.
Light and air, and you don't have to spend that money and take on that construction risk to remove a portion of the building.
Yeah.
We are literally just building rooms with bathrooms and kitchens if we're doing multi on all the floors, and then we're doing restaurants and bar in the lobby level.
So I know
So
you're going to
very
get to it,
straightforward.
but how do you address the air conditioning issue?
Great question. So uh, these 5 buildings are office buildings currently. So they've had mechanical and electrical plumbing systems installed, over the years. However, this is one of the big risk areas for investors when they do a renovation. A lot of investors will assume that they can reuse the existing systems in place. We start from a budget that includes the complete replacement of all mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems in the building.
Wow.
We carry $140 a foot for that. If the deal does not pencil to an opportunistic return, we cannot do the deal, meaning with that cost in it, we cannot do the deal. That is a underwriting standard at Left Lane.
Yeah, that makes sense because everything, if they converted it and put air conditioning in, the HVAC systems are dated, it totally makes sense, right?
Yeah, now look, if we get lucky and we can reuse some, great. We've just
Yeah,
saved some money, but we just don't start there.
got it.
So it may make sense. I'll just outline again, like what we're raising money for, and then I'll take you through how we identify our markets and the assets within them, if you think that's a good use of time.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we're raising $152 million of LP equity. We, Left Lane, are investing $27 million of our GP equity alongside that. And the purpose is to renovate these 5 distressed office buildings, which we already own and have spent several years de-risking to get them ready for construction. The returns are a 3 times multiple and 30% IRR at the deal level or portfolio level, which yields a 2.5 times multiple and 25% IRR net for our LP investors.
Yeah.
We have raised 90 million of the 150. We have 3 university endowments already invested in the fund with us: Tufts University, UCLA, and William and Mary.
Nice.
And our intention is to close out the fund by the end of June.
And the 27 million, aside from debt to close, it was used partially to get the buildings ready and whatever down money equity you put in, right?
Yes, with one important detail. We've actually invested over $50 million into these 5 buildings of GP equity. As we've raised the LP equity to pair alongside, we're trying to bring our GP position down to 27,
yeah,
which equates to 15% of the equity.
Yeah. Take some money off the table so you can do the next 5, right?
Yes. However, we're not charging a step up in our basis. It is simply just a replacement of the equity.
Got it.
So the investment strategy. I'm going to take you through how we identified the markets we're willing to invest in, the buildings that shared the characteristics we needed, and then the distressed buildings within that subset. We knew we wanted to, as I said up front, invest in high growth secondary cities that were undersupplied in our product types, where we could buy things cheaply. But we needed a way to figure out what those markets were. So it took several steps, but the first step was to study Austin, Denver, and Nashville because they were great examples of secondary cities that grew rapidly before COVID. And we knew we'd missed the boat with those three markets. It was too late, too much development, too expensive. So we were looking for the next Austin, Denver, Nashville. The first step was to break their data, the data in those markets, into three different buckets and look for the most salient drivers of their success. So the first bucket was simply demand. And this is every kind of growth metric you can get your hands on. So from population growth to affluent cohorts of population growth, how their income's changing, job growth, GDP, I mean, all the typical stuff. However, we ended up zeroing in on zip code level data, which the IRS actually provides, which is kind of fascinating to really get granular on submarkets. Second bucket of data was simply supply. What's been delivered? What is coming? Third was something we created, which is we wanted to be able to score a market's vitality. And so we assembled 60 different variables that we assigned weightings to, which would allow us to score a market's vitality. Think about things like how many professional sports teams are there per capita? Is there a walkable downtown? What
Healthcare,
luxury?
right? Yeah.
Healthcare, education. What luxury retailers are already locating there, so we can piggyback on their research. So now we've got these three buckets of data, which we know are highly correlated to the growth and success of Austin, Denver, and Nashville, and allow us to score every market in the US along those three axes. The last thing we needed was a way to measure distress. So I went back to my roots and got some old friends from Morgan Stanley to provide us with the raw monthly CMBS loan performance data.
Smart.
So for those on the call who may not be familiar, CMBS stands for Commercial Mortgage-Backed Security. It is simply a type of commercial real estate loan that an investment bank will package and pool with a bunch of other loans and slice those loans cash flows up into bonds, which they sell off. The reason why it's interesting is that, Arthur, if you have a building with a CMBS loan on it, you are required to report your building's financial performance monthly, quarterly, and annually. Now, that data is typically used by bond investors to measure their risk of getting paid early or paid off at all. We used it to value every single building in the United States that had a CMBS loan on it. We built our own model, and we simply said, what do we think the building's worth? What is the loan balance? And when is that loan coming due? And anything that was more than 10% underwater with a near-term maturity, we labeled distressed.
Yeah.
So now we've got a proxy for overall distress because CMBS finances about a third of all U.S. commercial real estate. Great. We deploy our 4 data set scoring model out into every city in the U.S., and 20 cities scored high enough across all 4 for us to be willing to invest in. So now we've got the 20 markets that we know fit our thesis. Phase 2 and 3 were to identify the assets within them that we wanted to go try and buy. So the next step, and I'm almost done taking you through this part, I promise.
No, this is the most interesting part to me, by the way.
Okay. So the next step was to inventory all of the historic buildings. They had to be historic in those 20 markets that shared 2 characteristics. Number 1, they had to be well located enough within those markets to be a luxury asset, because it doesn't do any good if you've got a beautiful historic building that's located, in a horrendous part of the city.
Yeah.
Number 2, and this is what goes to what we were talking about earlier, the buildings had to be the right size and shape for us to turn them into a hotel or multifamily building without changing the building's shape or structure. Couldn't add floors, can't remove the center of the building. So that screen yielded 600 buildings in 20 markets that we knew we were willing to invest in. And the last step was to take those 600 buildings, which were well located in the right size and shape, and feed their addresses into our CMBS model to see if any of them were distressed. And it turned out about 200 were. So you are looking at 5 buildings that we have acquired and de-risked that are in the 20, they're in, let's see, five markets of the 20 we're willing to invest in that were distressed, that we bought off market for $80 a foot.
Huh.
So we've acquired this portfolio of 5 beautiful, iconic, historic buildings for $80 a foot.
That's insane. And what about the historic landmark credits and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. So we, Left Lane, as your friendly neighborhood GP, have been able to get our hands on 4 different types of financial incentives for these projects. And historic tax credits are one of them.
Yeah.
Historic tax credits, if you don't know how they work, the federal government established the Historic Tax Credit Program in 1976. And the purpose is to incentivize real estate investors to preserve the historic fabrics of our downtowns across the US.
Yeah.
There's a 3-step process. Step 1, you put your building on the historic register. If it's old enough and it's deemed culturally significant, then you can. All 5 of our buildings are on the register. Step 2, you work with the Parks Department, which is the agency that administers the program, and they review your renovation plans. And they're just checking to make sure you're not going to put, pink stucco all over this beautiful limestone facade, right? They want to make sure you're not going to destroy the historic nature of the building, which of course we don't want to do because it's in part what makes them lovely luxury assets. After you clear Part 2 approval, which we have for all 5, you then get your tax credit. The federal government gives you a tax credit worth 20% of whatever you spend on your renovation. Each state has their own program. State of Georgia, which one of our projects is in, gives you another 25% on top of that.
Nice.
So for every $100 we spent on our Savannah, Georgia asset, we got $45 back in the form of a tax credit. You then take those credits and you sell them to tax credit investors. It's a very large and liquid market. You're typically going to get 80 to 90 cents in the dollar when you sell them. And I'll just show you this deal as an example. So this is a $122 million project, which, by the way, will be complete this August and open in September.
Nice.
$122 million deal. Sherwin-Williams, the paint company, bought our tax credits from us. And the way that the payments are structured is that you get 10 to 20% of your agreed upon price up front. That's why you see this as a source. So when you start construction, and then when you finish, you get the balance. So Sherwin paid us $3.2 million when we began, and they're going to cut us a check for $18.4 million in September when we finish. That is why the IRRs and the cash on cash yields in this portfolio are as high as they are. Right, a 30% IRR real estate deal is so high as to sound ridiculous, but it's because there's this very early large cash payment that's coming into each project.
And all this is thrown in to the benefit of the GP and the LP with no friction. Yeah.
No, oh, yes. No, these are the tax credit proceeds are enjoyed by every investor in the projects. No one more disproportionately than the other.
Yeah.
So, and just to say, there's no policy risk associated with that program. Our president has utilized the historic tax credit program himself a number of times as an investor. And last summer with the new tax bill, it was left untouched while other tax credit programs, green energy in particular, were totally gutted. So if people have question about policy, which they often do, that's the answer. So, Arthur, this is the most important slide in the entire presentation.
Yeah.
If people take away one set of information, it's what I'm about to tell you in the next 30 seconds. The point of this slide is about elasticity to the upside in terms of return and downside protection. In other words, positive convexity, to go back to my bond days. So on the left-hand side, we're showing you what it would cost to build a ground-up luxury project in our markets today at a minimum, $750 a foot. And $350 a foot of that $750 would be the land and the core of the building and its shell, the facade.
Yeah.
If you think about what it is we've acquired, it's simply that, the land and the core and shell of those buildings. But instead of having to build it for $350 a foot, we bought it for $80. And oh, by the way, this is a generic, cookie cutter building. This is not the Gulf Tower in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is the most iconic building in the city.
Yeah.
Which couldn't be constructed today because it would be too expensive and the skilled labor doesn't exist.
Yep.
So anyway, we've compressed that part by 85%. Then we get to further reduce our basis by using tax credits and development grants so that we're delivering luxury type 1 product in markets with no supply for less than $500 a foot.
Yeah.
Impressive. So that obviously provides massive upside, but here's what I think really matters and what I would care about if I was a potential LP is the downside protection.
Yeah.
Because our basis is so low, we can miss the underwriting you see in this deck, meaning the net operating income projections, the profit on each property, by 40% and still break even.
And assuming you're that far along on the development and you miss, for whatever reason, the underwriting, someone's going to pay $500 a square foot for that building.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would be the steal of a lifetime.
Yeah.
So the other way to look at it is from a cap rate perspective. We are underwriting to sell the hotels for 7.5 caps on average, and the multifamily, I think, are at 5.5 to 6. We can miss those cap rates by 400 basis points.
Mm-hmm.
So we can sell the multifamily by, at 10 caps and still break even.
Yeah.
And the hotels at 12s. It's just massive downside protection.
Yeah. And
We
you get
talked
the
about
tax credit.
Yeah.
You get the tax credit money on the timeline that you showed us, but it actually gets done commensurate with the amount of money that you spend, right?
Correct. So there's a built-in cost
offset,
mitigant.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The federal and state governments are paying for 20 to 40% of whatever our costs are.
And is that progress payment a function of the regulations or a function of the agreement you had with Sharon Williams?
The answer is a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Because of the regulations, the tax credits have to be phased in or used by the buyer over a 5-year period of time, which requires us to hold it for 5 years, which is what the underwriting is anyway. But also, if you were a tax credit buyer, you wouldn't want to give us all the money up front. You'd want to make sure that we finish the job.
Yeah. And I know it's probably not relevant, but I'm curious because I don't know how it works.
Sure.
When they buy the tax credit in total, do they get the benefit that year, or do they only get the benefit as the 5-year progresses?
They have to spread it out over 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the reason why these buyers buy them, and they're largely corporations who are buying these, it's just simply to try and reduce their corporate tax rate.
Yeah, they need them. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are 3 other buckets of financial incentives that we have been able to get, for lack of a better term. Second bucket are property tax abatements. So on every project, all 5, we have negotiated with the city that our building sits in to get a property tax abatement anywhere from 7 to 20 years, anywhere from fully abated to 50% abated,
nice.
Or some combination thereof.
Yeah.
And the logic is pretty straightforward. The cities aren't being altruistic. They believe by redeveloping these functionally obsolete but beautiful office buildings, we're going to generate more tax revenue and jobs than we would have otherwise.
Taxpayers in the form of renting rooms or residents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The last, or the third rather, bucket of financial incentive are redevelopment grants. And these are highly bespoke. And to date, we've been very successful, but just on this one project.
They're
So I'll
state
tell
or
you what I mean.
federal? Sorry,
This is state.
state. Got it.
So the state of Pennsylvania, after we lobbied and spent about $40,000, awarded us a $10 million redevelopment grant.
Uh-huh.
That's why you see this as a source of equity here.
Yeah.
The state gave us $10 million to redevelop this project with no cost of capital attached. That is simply free equity into the deal. And it's because this is such an iconic building.
Yeah.
Now we're pursuing them on other projects. We'll see if we are successful. I don't know. The last area of financial incentive might be the most compelling. RIF is a federal debt facility that was originally designed to help facilitate investment in America's rail and rail stations.
Mm-hmm.
It's a $35 billion facility, only $5 billion of which was used. The first Trump administration made changes to a number of infrastructure programs, this being one of them, to try and help facilitate office conversion. So now, Arthur, if you have a real estate project within a half a mile of an intercity rail station, so think, for those folks who are in the tri-state area here, think Amtrak, not Metro North.
Right.
You can qualify for this program. So what is it? Because you're going to increase ridership, i.e. fare box revenue for the government. So what is it? The headline is it's high leverage, really cheap, long-term assumable debt. The specifics are that I can get a loan for 75% of my cost, which is 10 to 15 percentage points higher than a typical construction loan, priced at the 30-year Treasury rate plus 1 basis point. That is 5% money.
Yeah.
Really cheap. It's fixed, and it's a 35-year loan. But the best part about it is that it's assumable.
Right. So whoever's buying this from you, depending on the interest rate environment at the time, will salivate to get that.
So at 5%, I think it's safe, and given the term of it, safe to say it's always going to be attractive debt.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, so two of the 5 projects qualify, Pittsburgh and Providence. So we've underwritten the higher leverage and the cheaper loan rate on those 2 deals. What we have not underwritten is the premium that buyer is going to pay us when we hand them that paper.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's worth, but it's not small. But I'm not. That's just upside into the deal.
And that
the last thing I'll say about this, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Just going to say that we want the other projects to be able to qualify because it's so accretive. So we spent time lobbying representatives in the state of Georgia, the state of Arizona, and the state of Memphis. And we simply said, hey, guys, there's this program out there, and your Northeastern brethren in Congress, their constituents are getting the benefit of it because their rail stations are all pretty much downtown.
Yeah.
But cities in the South and Southwest, they're not. Don't you think that's unfair? So we got bipartisan support to introduce a bill in Congress last summer to expand the eligibility, which would allow the other projects to qualify. Now, I don't know if, again, we're going to be successful, but we are trying. We believe that doing things like that, like getting the financial incentives that I've just walked you through, that's what we should be getting paid for, right? That's how we create alpha in one arena for these projects.
And the day that you execute the loan, it's fixed for the duration.
Correct.
based on that metric, the 30-year Treasury plus 100 basis
Yes.
points?
No, no, one basis point.
1 basis point.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And how does that compare presently with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac?
Well, Fannie and Freddie aren't going to give you a construction loan for this sort of project.
Yeah, that
So
makes
the
sense.
real comparable uh, would be SOFR plus, 500, 600.
Yeah,
So this is 700 basis points cheaper
yeah,
than a typical construction loan.
yeah. So the lobbying is to open up that bucket of money independent of whether there's a rail station close.
Well, no, what we did was we said, let's expand the geographic radius to a mile and a half.
Oh,
And also, let's expand the definition of what it means to be intercity rail. Because, by example, Phoenix doesn't have intercity rail.
yeah.
It's got light rail, which actually goes to different cities in the greater Phoenix area. And our project happens to be right down the street from one of those light rail stations. But that's what we proposed: a radius expansion and a definitional expansion.
Good for you because it's rare that what happens. The politicians have get a chunk of money allocated so it optically looks good for them, but then they don't follow it up and have it actually deployed so it has the benefit that it was intended. So good for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's a page in the presentation on each project, what we're transforming it into. I'll just quickly walk you through those, and then we can get into the structure. And that's what I typically close with
Yep.
before we get into Q&A.
Yep.
So this project we started construction on at the end of 2024. It'll be complete in August. It'll be a 220 key recess hotel. That is our lifestyle brand. So Bardo, the one that's already open in Savannah, is our luxury brand. It'll be the number one asset in whatever city we go into. Recess will sit number 3 or 4. So the idea is Bardo, we're going to stabilize at about $500 a night, average across a year. Recess, you'll see, stabilizes at $350 a night. That just gives you a sense of the delta in terms of position. Our Pittsburgh project is a 130 key Bardo hotel and 230 multifamily units, along with a private member club, restaurants, bars, meeting space. One key update on this deal. You'll see here the purchase price is shown as $33 million. 2 weeks ago, I finished successfully negotiating a reduction in that price. The new purchase price is $27 million, and so a $6 million reduction. And I've convinced the seller to leave $8 million in the project, which reduces our equity requirement by about 10 million bucks, which takes the deal multiple, which you'll see down here, from a 3.6 times to a 4.0.
So don't tell me who it is, but is it an institution that owns it or a pension plan or an individual? Just
It is a regional office owner.
yeah, got it.
This is the Turk's Head building in Providence, Rhode Island. This will also be mixed use with 155 key Bardo hotel and 45 multifamily units.
Beautiful building.
It is so gorgeous. The picture doesn't do it justice. It really is special. This is called the Punch Card Building in Phoenix, Arizona. It's actually 3 buildings and a 7-acre campus. These rotundas you see in the foreground are 6,000 square feet column-free space with stained glass in the center of their roofs. This will be a recess hotel of 209 keys and 130 multifamily units with a great outdoor pool, restaurant, bar complex. One of these will be our ballroom. The other will be the main restaurant and bar. And this is the Falls building in Memphis, Tennessee. This will be multifamily only, 175 units. This is the next project to begin construction. So we are out in the market for a construction loan now. We'll start late fall. And just to back up, Pittsburgh will be the 3rd project. We'll start construction early next year. And then Providence and Phoenix will be Q1, Q2 next year, construction start.
So for example, some questions on
Yeah.
the Pittsburgh building, what's the carrying? Like, what's the friction to carry this thing until you start I don't need the number. I'm just wondering, is it
Uh, it's,
meaningful?
it's a great overall question. So we have, by and large, avoided expensive bridge debt on our projects. The On Pittsburgh, we have so that's a 50,000 square foot building. We've got a little $10 million bridge loan on it.
Yeah, nice.
So the carry cost is nothing.
Yeah,
We bought Memphis all cash. We've got a very cheap bank loan on Providence. And Savannah, we got very, very cheap seller financing that was priced at the AFR rate, which is the cheapest financeable rate.
yeah.
And Phoenix, we actually have under long dated hard contract. So there is no carry cost. It's just locked up while we spend money on pre-development.
Nice. So we have a few questions,
Sure.
but let's get into the structure and then we'll do that.
Okay. I'll go through it quickly. This page is simply a visual representation of what's happening with the LP money we've raised in our raising, our GP equity, and then the returns. So yes, it's a fund structure. You can also think about it as a direct investment into 5 projects, because that's all we can do with this money. We can't do anything else. You have exposure to these 5 deals and that's it. You can see the GP equity and LP equity per deal, and then the tax credits and debt to get you to your total $700 million project cost. The fee structure is very friendly to LPs along a number of dimensions. So, as a reminder, we're raising $152 million of LP capital, which is 85% of the equity required. We are committing $27 million on top of that, so 15% of the equity, which is a very large GP commitment.
It is indeed.
It's a 7-year fund with 2 one-year extensions. We've eliminated the J curve, so we're charging 1.5 points on deployed equity. And all of your equity will be deployed within the first 12 months because the projects are so far along.
Yeah.
We are not charging a step up in basis. So despite having spent years de-risking each project and getting those financial incentives,
They're coming in at the same way you are.
same cost.
Yeah.
Same cost. Your dollar is the same as my dollar.
Yeah.
Lastly, the promote or carried interest. So it is multiple based. However, we got a minimum 8% IRR test we must meet in order to get into the multiple based waterfall. The assets are crossed, meaning all of these metrics you see are at the portfolio level.
It's
we can't
an aggregate, right?
Yes. So just to tick through the waterfall, the GP equity and LP equity are pari passu until the portfolio has achieved a 1.4 times. That is a very high initial hurdle.
Yeah.
It's equivalent to a 10% IRR.
Yeah.
And then the GP starts to earn promote in each tier incrementally. You'll see that if we perform as this is underwritten, we earn a 16% total promote. And 9.5% of that
is after 1.6. Yeah.
Is after our 1.8.
Oh, I
so
see that.
it's
Yeah.
back-ended.
Yeah.
Just to sum it all up, big GP commit, no step-in basis, high initial hurdle, and we make our money at the back end. So we are really incentivized to outperform, and you are protected from paying fees on mediocre performance.
Have you figured out if or how any of the cost seg and all that depreciation stuff can pass through to the LP?
Yes, we in fact in the data room have a sheet which shows an illustrative $10 million investment, what it means for taxes for our investors. The headline is you get accelerated depreciation in that first year, and you are not paying any tax, and you have losses you can use up until the sale of the asset in the 5th or 6th year of the project.
Yeah. which is meaningful, right?
It is. It is.
Are you doing all the cost seg stuff?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Citrin Cooperman is our accounting firm. We do audited financials, obviously.
yeah.
So yeah,
They're good guys. We like them. Yeah. Um, in your research, it was somewhat pre-AI.
it was completely pre-AI. I really wish it wasn't.
Yeah, right. Because that analyst work that you did, you know, it's really expensive. That has changed, has it not?
100%.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
And the CMBS data that you got, did the bank score those?
Yeah.
Like,
So that's a great question. That has not changed. You
yeah,
cannot get your hands on that data unless you pay a company like TREP or Intex for it, or you have friends who work at a bank who has access to it.
yeah,
They just gave us the ones and zeros, Arthur. We built our own model around it.
got it. Yeah. And what about was CoStar valuable in identifying the properties?
We didn't use CoStar at all.
Uh,
No, we literally identified the markets and then spent time on Google Earth and flying all over the country looking at buildings to identify the ones that were well located in the right size and shape, and then fed those addresses into our CMBS model to see if any of them happened to be distressed.
yeah. And of the 200 that fit into your box, did you pick the top five that you could execute on? And were there 20 others that you wish you could do?
Yeah, great question. So there were 200 that we wished we could do, that we'd like to do. To get to these five, we probably had 25 conversations, and 20 deals didn't work out for a variety of reasons. Either the building was in much worse shape than we expected, and it was going to be too expensive, or we couldn't agree on price, or we had a timing mismatch in terms of when the owner wanted to sell and when we wanted to buy it. But it's an important detail because it speaks to the amount of due diligence we have done on the condition of the buildings.
Yeah,
So the way this would work, let's pretend you owned that Pittsburgh building, the Gulf Tower. You and I agree on a price. I tell you, I'm going to put up an outsized deposit. I'm going to put up a 20% deposit, which for Pittsburgh, right, that's a big number in dollars. But because of our resources, we're able to do that. But in exchange, I need 3 to 6 months of due diligence before my money goes hard.
yeah.
And during that period of time, I am inspecting the facade, the roof, and the window package. I'm scanning the walls and I'm doing selective demolition. And remember, I'm assuming I got to throw away all the MEP so I can really understand what I'm going to have to spend to transform this thing. And if it's cost more than I originally thought, we're going to have a conversation about the price.
Renegotiate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And were you at risk for the outsized deposit if you walked?
No, I needed that time to do due diligence before that deposit went hard.
So it's like a standstill agreement with some conditions that allowed you
That's
to
right.
do that. Yeah, yeah,
And what ended up happening, which we hoped would happen, but we didn't know if we were going to be successful, was that we ended up offering the seller a price that was close to their debt level, so they didn't have to come out of pocket much. One, but two, and this was critical, we offered them the ability to stay in the new transaction for a sliver equity capacity
yeah.
so they could avoid depreciation recapture
Getting the right.
because we knew they'd owned the building forever. And that was a huge problem for them.
Yeah,
And what that has engendered in 4 of the 5 projects is an amazing local partner who
yeah.
knows this city backwards and forwards, which has
Listen,
been
if you can
very
help
valuable.
somebody save taxes by just letting them have a sliver of equity, it's huge.
Why not?
Yeah, yeah. Of the 25 conversations that you had,
Yep.
20 fell off for whatever reason. If you had to speculate of the 175 that were left, are there a good 10 in there?
I think there's more than that, Arthur. I think we're going to be raising our next fund vehicle at the end of this year. This particular way to deliver leading assets will be a part of that. And I expect to be able to go after, another 100 to achieve, I don't know. Yeah, 10's probably not a bad uh, idea.
And who are the people that are looking at what you're doing and saying, "Hey, we've got vertical integration chops. We can do this." Are there people nipping at your tails there, trying to outbid you on stuff? You'll likely
No,
have
we did
to.
not run it. We didn't run into any competition. All of our offers were unsolicited off market. We just went directly to the owners. Uh, there are certainly really talented developers here in New York City who do it here.
Yeah,
Uh, Nate Berman, is sort of a prolific New York investor who's done this, particularly downtown. But in these high growth secondary markets, we haven't run into anybody who is really vertically integrated the way we are from an investment, development, and operational standpoint.
yeah, yeah,
Just haven't seen it.
yeah.
Doesn't mean it won't happen. We just haven't run into it yet.
I mean, as a consumer, I appreciate you doing what you're doing because sometimes it really sucks sliding into a secondary market and you've got to stay at the no-tell motel.
Yeah.
It's not
Well,
cool.
and with the proliferation of social media, everybody now sees what wonderful travel looks like all over the world all the time.
Yeah.
And that is really, it may sound kind of glib, but it has changed how people think about travel, even for work.
Yeah. I can't even look. We always seek out something that is as good or better than home, right?
Yeah.
Um, but
Why? Yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah, good for you. Uh, so end of June, you want to wrap this up?
That's the goal. We'll see what happens, but there is urgency to for those who have interest to dig in and get in touch.
Yeah. And $5 million, $10 million checks?
$1 million min and $1 million and up is fine.
Yeah, good. Super interesting. Really, I've seen, we've had this conversation offline, but I've seen lots of these and you guys are, certainly did the hard work.
Thanks, Arthur. Appreciate it. I would just wrap up by saying, if I haven't already, we have three, blue chip universities who've invested with us,
Yeah.
who've done a lot of diligence. They're happy to speak with investors who are serious and far along. We are also able to share some of their ODD work that they did. Uh, and I would frame this as you're trying to think about how this might fit in your own portfolio. This is an opportunistic, distressed investment.
Yeah.
Real estate is the forum or the avenue through which we pursued it. This is not a yield play, right? This is about wealth creation. Um, and you're investing with a sponsor who has a track record of delivering. In fact, the highest performing deals in our track record are historic conversions into hotel or resi.
And that track record you mentioned is your partner's historic track
Yes.
record at JP Morgan or
No, yeah, I should spend a second on this.
yeah,
So, my partner, John Cully, and Ash Shaban and John Bloomberg, all went to Colgate together. I graduated in 98, they in 97. I like to make sure that I point out that I'm a
yeah,
year
right.
younger. Um, John Cully went to Columbia for architecture school. And after Columbia, started a firm in New York City called Flank. And they became very successful
I remember
hotel.
Plank for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
High-end condo and hotel developers in New York, Brooklyn, Savannah, and Nashville. And so in the summer of 2019, John and his partner, who we met at Columbia, decided they wanted to focus the next fundraise differently. So his partner wanted to continue to do more ground up construction, not so much hospitality. And John really wanted to focus more on hotel and residential and how those two products might be converging, but didn't believe you could execute on a ground up strategy and earn an opportunistic return. So John and I had talked over the years numerous times about joining forces. when he and his partner decided to separate, he called me and I was ready to jump in. And then we brought the other guys in after that.
Nice. That is super helpful. And so how many units does that track record? Is it an expression of 10, 20, 2?
So it goes back to 2002. And I think that there are, I don't know about units, but I would, in terms of
Building.
individual
Yeah.
buildings, 10 to 15.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. And all deference to you, which explains why the institutional investors felt comfortable in jumping in aside from doing the due diligence, because you know what it's like, right?
Yeah, you have to have a track record
Yeah.
and have earned the gray hair, which I clearly have, having gone through, the trials and tribulations of real estate investing.
Yeah.
I think what seems to have resonated with investors is the way we set up the company, where the skill sets that the partners have are complementary, not redundant. So John Cully is an architect and a true developer. I am a hotel investor with a distressed background. Our partner, Shaban, is a distressed investor across all hard asset industries, both in hedge funds and private equity. His last role was running a global shipping company that his hedge fund had acquired. Uh, and out of bankruptcy, he turned it around and sold it. And our partner, John Bloomberg, is a restaurant and bar investor his whole career. That's what he's done. Lastly, our partner, Pritpal Singh, there are five of us. While Pritpal didn't go to Colgate, he is a career hotel operator, starting off as a busboy in a restaurant and ended up being a general manager for the last 20 years.
Nice.
So a nice complement of skill sets
Yeah.
at the partnership level.
Yeah. Very, very helpful. Well, I really appreciate you doing this,
Me
and
too.
we'll make sure everybody gets in touch.
Yeah,
And
please get in touch. Happy to chat anytime. Look forward to the discussion.
yeah, appreciate it. And we're going to do this again on the 19th. So
Great.
if everybody knows. And then, like I said, if that's interesting to you, we'll put you in touch. And if there's anybody else in your world that might benefit from hearing this, you're certainly welcome to share it. So thanks everybody for being with us today. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Andy.
Bye bye.